Coping with COVID-19, brought to you by NGC, at the forefront of energy.
As we continue with the series Coping with COVID, today we take a look at the way in which some of our students who are studying abroad have been coping. On the line, live from Abu Dhabi, I have Thais Thomas and Natanya Keel, live from New York, Gabriel Branch, and right here in Trinidad and Tobago, Cara John. Good morning, girls. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, well, Cara, I know you're a student at UWI Cave Hill, but you are actually in Trinidad and Tobago at the moment. Natanya and Thais, you are still in Abu Dhabi, and Gabrielle, you are in New York. So let me chat with those of you who are abroad, and then I'll come to you, Cara. How have you guys been coping? Before we talk about what you're studying, how have you been coping being away from home during this pandemic? Let's talk to the Abu Dhabi girls first.
I would say that we're coping relatively well, if I can speak for myself, but we're in a very fortunate position in the university that we're in, so that we don't have to worry about things like housing, etc. But it has definitely been a challenge to be away from family, especially in this very trying time, and also trying to keep up with the news at home and the developments there.
Natanya,
Yeah,
what about
I've
you?
had a very similar situation in that the university has done really well at like dealing with our needs in terms of like food, housing. But personally, for me, I have found it difficult in terms of keeping in contact with my family back home, just like being up to date with the situation going on at home, and then like the whole uncertainty about when I will see them again. Um, Especially because the borders are closed and flights and all of that. So that has been my biggest struggle.
And what about
And
you? Yes?
even though I'm in New York, I'm also an NYU Abu Dhabi student. So the school also has been taking very good care of us, even as we're studying away, quote unquote. And for me, it's been quite an interesting experience. I have people around me, and even though I miss my family, we actually talk more now than we did before COVID. So I guess this has been an opportunity to connect through like this time of quarantine.
But you're right now in New York, which is one of the more significantly impacted states in the United States. Has that affected you in any way?
Not particularly, because I just don't leave my house. So yes, right now New York City is like very the COVID-19 is very rampant here, but once we stay inside, it hasn't been an issue. The challenges come when we need to get groceries because we don't have like a dining hall in our dorms. But once we take the precautions and make sure that we come back and spray down everything, it's been okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Gabby. And Cara, I'm going to come back and talk to you guys about what you're studying and how you're coping online. But Cara, so you are at UWI Cave Hill, but you're right now in Trinidad and Tobago. Does that make a difference for you, you think?
Definitely. I think for me personally, it's easier being home. I did not live on dorm, so I would have been living like alone, and so being able to be home and with my family is like a huge advantage to me because it takes a little bit of pressure off just basically surviving day to day because I have my family to support me while I'm still finishing off my degree.
Yeah. And Cara, what are you studying? What are you studying, Cara?
Oh, I'm studying law in Barbados right now.
So that means you were doing online classes. How was that?
Yes.
That transition from live face-to-face classes to online classes?
I personally found it a little bit difficult just because there's like a lack of structure to me. I appreciate the routine of getting up in the morning and getting ready to go to school and then being in that different place. It changes kind of my attitude towards the work that I'm doing. When I could kind of wake up 5 minutes before and just switch on a video, I feel less attuned to the work that I'm doing. So that's been very difficult. But other than that, I like the fact that I can pause my lectures and I can go back over certain things and also wake up five
Oh, so
minutes
these are
before they
recorded
start.
lectures. They're not live if you're able to pause it.
Okay, so I have two styles. I have two courses left, thankfully. One of them, my teacher recorded all of the lectures and he put them online first, and then we discuss in a live session later in the week.
Yes.
So those ones are good. I can watch those anytime. Then the other one I have is live, and so we tune in for about an hour. It's usually about an hour and a half hours, just discussing like our situation, which is nice. Our teachers are being very aware of the situation and kind to us, which is nice.
Okay, I want to go across to Abu Dhabi where Natanya and Thais are. What are you both studying and how has it been for you?
So I study biology,
Mm-hmm.
and this semester I was taking some very lab heavy courses. Um, I also was supposed to start doing work on like my capstone project, which is basically like the big final project before you graduate.
Yeah.
And because of COVID-19, I think somewhere around like mid-March, labs closed.
Mm-hmm.
So we had no access to labs. So we were in the middle of like CRISPR experiments. We had to get rid of all the bacteria. I never got to start work on my like physical lab work on my capstone.
Mm-hmm.
So dealing with all of that and like restructuring, because there's always computational and bioinformatics work that I could do through my laptop. Um, but so now what I'm dealing with is restructuring the way that I'm going about doing research.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also taking Arabic, which is a language class, and just language classes over the internet just haven't been working well for me personally.
What about you, Thais?
Oh yeah, and for me, I'm a third year history student. Um, and I think for my classes, it's kind of beneficial, or it's a bit different because my classes are around 6 to 7 people,
Mm-hmm.
very discussion based. So the switch to online learning hasn't severely impacted like the kinds of discussions and the kinds of learning that we're able to have.
Yeah.
But like Cara, it is about the learning environment. I don't feel the same kind of motivation uh, or need to engage with the topics or with class discussion because there's that lack of like the sense of classroom
Mm-hmm.
community. Um, and then similarly with my final year project, because COVID has severely affected many of the places in which I can do research and where like I can have access to these different publications and materials. I've had to again restructure the way and reframe the way that I'll be doing that, especially moving on in the future because we don't know when this will end essentially.
Yeah. Gabrielle, you were studying a number of things, um, but tell us what you're studying and how it has affected what you're doing in New York.
Um, so my major is interactive media. However, I'm in New York to complete a dance minor. So all my classes are performance based. I have 4 dance classes, an acting class, and a vocal instruction class. So that's been fun to do online. For the acting and the music class, it hasn't been severely impacted. Again, it would be nice to be in class and hear the acoustics with my professor and have the emotion quite raw, but we've adapted and gone to like acting for camera. In terms of dance, which is why I'm here, it took a while to adjust because we needed to adapt to everyone's different level of space and how much we can move and hearing the music and being in sync. But so a lot of my teachers have shifted to more theoretical ways of teaching, which is a bit disappointing. But we did have a lot of theory since this is academic dance in the first place. So
Yeah.
that, and now we would record videos, our dances, and then discuss them later and work on the theory behind it and the technique. So it hasn't been like completely impossible, but there are times where I wish I could be in the studio and dancing with my peers, and it's really significantly like cut out partner work.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot more soloing and dance over the internet and using social media platforms to have our dance like Instagram live and so on, and seeing how that type of interaction is affected because we do think we need to be thinking of the future as well.
Yeah, and well, definitely you have to. You guys have been thrust into the future through this whole situation. But are you feeling? My final question to you all: do you guys feel stressed in any way? Additional stress, not the same stress that you would feel as students, and some of the other concerns that come with students. But are you at all stressed right now, extraordinarily so?
Yes.
Yes, for me, yes, as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I for sure.
I guess part of it is just like I understand like Cara and Thais like concerns or something I've done is just I wake up every morning and I make sure I get dressed and get ready for classes, even if I know no one can see me, down to shoes, because I'm like, I'm starting my day. And yeah, no,
But you're coping, you
No,
think?
I feel more stressed perhaps just because of the uncertainty. I mean, life is always uncertain, but there's a certain uncertainty about how we're going to be assessed in my case.
Mm-hmm.
The university has yet to finalize or tell us exactly what we're going to be doing. We just know the exam period is within 2 weeks, but we're not sure how our exams are going to be, what topics, what length, what time, So those things kind of make you feel a little more stressed,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the fact that having to think about regular things, such as like, so for my case, like, what did this judgment say, or how do I apply this law when there's something constantly changing outside, and you're really trying to listen. So what am I going to be allowed to go back outside?
Mm-hmm.
What is the death toll at today? It's kind of juggling those two things at the same time, while also trying to be a student can be quite stressful, in my opinion,
Yeah.
in my case as well.
Well, our thoughts are with all of you. Well, Cara, you are here. Cara John, student at the University of the West Indies, a law student, Caville campus, but right now in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as Thais Thomas, who's in Abu Dhabi. I believe you're studying history. And Nathaniel Keel, who's studying biology, also in Abu Dhabi. And Gabriel Branch, who's doing interactive media, dance, and natural science. And you are currently in New York. So, guys, be safe wherever you are. And thank you very much for joining us this morning. And this was brought to you by the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago Limited. Bye, guys.
Coping with COVID-19, brought to you by NGC, at the forefront of energy.
All right, that was our children of Trinidad and Tobago studying abroad. Well, one actually here. But, the uncertainty is, Carrie, of being online and thrust into the online situation. And we're going to be continuing that conversation with some of the lecturers now, some of the teachers.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting to find out how both sides are coping with it, because it is not an easy transition on either side in some cases.
Yes.
And, even with the lecturers having to familiarize themselves with technology in some cases.
Definitely
for
so.
those who wouldn't have had to before.
Definitely so. So we'll be continuing that conversation a little later on. But right now it's time for Ainka and entertainment news. We'll be joining her after this.